Russian figure skater Alexandra Trusova published photos on her Telegram channel, in which she was captured at the Great Wall of China. Recall that Trusova takes part in the ice show of two-time Olympic champion in figure skating, Evgeny Plushenko the Nutcracker and Swan Lake in Beijing. Performances in the capital of China lasted until August 13. Coach Svetlana Sokolskaya, under whose leadership skaters Alexandra Trusova and Mark Kondratyuk work, shared her opinion about Alexandra's transition from the group of Atari Tubbirds. I knew she was leaving. It so happened that there was such a friendship with Mark Kondratyuk. Everyone thinks she didn't come to her, but to Mark. Yes, to Mark, and that's fine. She was looking for herself. If Alexei Nikolaevich Mistin had had Mark, she would have gone to him. That's how they got it. Did she dream of skating at Sokolskaya? Well, that's funny, right? If Mark wasn't in her life, she wouldn't have taken that step. No wonder she went to Xenia Plushenko, then back. She is looking for something, said Sokolskaya in the series of the one-on-one documentary series. Trusova understood this herself. Svetlana Sokolskaya about the atmosphere of the trainings of her group. The groups of Sokolskaya and Evgeny Rakovitsyn often hold joint training camps, during which athletes learn to be friends, not compete. Last summer, before moving to Sokolskaya, Trusova repeatedly came to visit to train her young man Mark Kondratyuk. Have I had to explain to Trusova that there are not competitors nearby, but friends? Sasha understood this herself. As Artur Danielyan and Anya Frolova, who went over to Xenia, understood this. We don't explain anything to them, they see everything themselves, RIA Novosti Sport quoted Sokolskaya as saying. Besides, they themselves, to some extent, have heard a lot about the atmosphere in our country. That is why they are drawn to us. It seems to us that they adapt very quickly. You say psychologists and coaches often teach athletes to hate rivals. It's against nature. And we will never do that. This is completely without false pathos, and this is really not about us, said Rakovitsyn. Alexandra Trusova. What is happening in my career right now? Nothing. I began to live and not think about what will happen next. I live for today. I train, I ride. Now there were training camps, then there will be a vacation and again 2 training camps. One program has already been delivered. To what music? I never tell. I really like the music, I guess it suits me very well. Why do some girls leave early? It seems that you spent few years on the international stage, but in fact, girls begin to go to this very early. Since 2014, I really wanted to get to the Olympics in 2022. This is a very long time, in my opinion, the time that you train in order to get there. I think they are tired. Have I quit yet? Not yet, Trusova said. I've always been okay with defeats, it's just that the Olympics were a very serious goal for me, and I did everything in order to be so stronger that if I skate cleanly, then there's no need to worry. Unfortunately, laughs. What was a failure? I didn't have a failure, I did everything I could, and I think. What won? So I can't say it's wrong in relation to the person who won. After the performance, I was sure that I had won, that's why there was such a reaction. That's all. And as they counted, so they counted, said Trusova. Angelika Krylova spoke about how an athlete feels when she goes to the Olympics for gold, and in the end she ends up second. When you go to a competition and especially go to a gold medal, you don't have to think about how you will feel if you lose. I'm absolutely sure that neither Zhenya Medvedeva in Pyeongchang, nor Sasha Trusova in Beijing, nor Sasha Zhulin and Maya Yusova in 1994 at the Games in Lillehammer thought about this. You go for Olympic gold, knowing very clearly that this is the goal of your whole life. Perhaps the only chance. Yes, you can probably say that the athletes are young, that they still have their whole life ahead of them, but you yourself don't think about it at all. Think only about the goal. And then the day comes, the result comes, you sit in the kiss and edge, look at the scoreboard, where the second place is on, and of course, this is a difficult moment in all respects. Trusova was criticized for not being able to contain her emotions. In such a heightened emotional state, you cannot control yourself, it is really very difficult. That's why we see people crying, screaming, getting into a fight, scolding the coach and so on. We are talking about this now, I already have tremors in my body, I remember that state so sharply. With regard to the same Trusova, it was very difficult to choose a winner, and I don't think that the coach somehow interfered in this process. It's just the way things were. Like in the duel between Medvedeva and Zagitova in Pyeongchang. Yes, it was a hard loss for Zhenya, very hard. It's just that she went to these games much longer than Alina. In the same way as Arina Slutskaya in 2002 went to the Olympic victory for a very long time and consciously. And the girl who won, I don't even remember her name now. Sarah Hughes. Yes. Which almost immediately disappeared from everywhere. I don't even know why she was allowed to win the Olympics. Archie Krylova quotes. Olympic champion in diving and sports journalist Elena Vysekovskaya shared her opinion about the silver medalist of the 2022 Olympic Games in women's single skating, Russian figure skater Alexandra Trusova. I didn't quite accurately express myself about Trusova in a previous post, talking about her, Elena Kosternaya and the Krystalny conveyor. Still, I tend to think that the competition of the Tubberts group is, on the whole, exactly what Sasha, unlike Elena, always needed. I fully admit that she herself did not understand this when she ran away from competition in Plushenko's Angels, but in fact a strong group is an ideal habitat for Sasha. For everyone around to jump non-stop, and she would be the best and inaccessible there. So, in fact, it happened for a while. I am still convinced that the entire Krystalny group jumped quad jumps, primarily thanks to Trusova, and not Tubberts and Dudikov at all. It is clear that sooner or later this would have happened without Sasha, but when she started jumping quads, she, as it were, broke through a very strong block in the minds of many people, including her coaches. She showed everyone that this was possible, and pulled the rest. Being the first in such things is an extremely difficult thing, by the way. And also a kind of talent not to be afraid to take such steps. Go where no one else has gone. Do not adapt to an unfamiliar situation, but take it upon yourself and emerge victorious. Why did Sasha fail to win at the most important moment? It seems to me that in her adult figure skating life, she really needed a person next to her with a stronger character than hers, which she would trust unconditionally, and who would be able to convince the skater that rushing into the embrasure around the clock, performing another feat, is not the most profitable practice if you want to win the main fight. Moreover, Trusova needed to convince, and not try to crush under him. But there was no such person. Perhaps Evgeny Plushenko could have become it, but not at that moment and not in that situation. Therefore, I am far from thinking that if Trusova had stayed in the Angels, she would have become a champion in Beijing. Everything is much more complicated here. Plushenko, it seems to me, at that time did not have enough coaching weight, which the judges always look at, and most importantly, for Sasha, there was no equivalent sparring that would push the skater forward. In other words, working with Trusova, Evgeny himself learned to be a coach. Just like in her time Tubberts learned to be a coach by working with Lipnitskaya, I think there is no need to explain here that we are not talking about working with children's and junior groups. Perhaps I wishful thinking, but for some reason it seems to me that the current Plushenko would be able to find motivation for Sasha not to quit training. Not to be scattered on all sorts of PR projects, causing the delight of fans, but losing condition, but to stay in the sport seriously and for a long time. Why might a figure skater need this? Well, at least because Olympic gold opens up much wider opportunities for a person than any other medal. The example of Elena Zagitova is a vivid confirmation of this. Vysekovskaya wrote in her Telegram channel.